They laughed at him, right there in the middle of the street. Not quietly, not behind his back, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Look at him," one man said, shaking his head. "Talking about dreams when he can't even afford shoes." That day, Mavis didn't just lose a job. He lost something deeper: respect, dignity, belonging. And as he stood there, humiliated, holding a torn folder filled with rejected job applications, someone said something he would never forget. "People like you don't make it out of this town." Years later, that same town would wake up to something unbelievable. Bills paid, schools rebuilt, homes restored. But no one knew who was behind it, until one day, the truth walked back into town. And when they realized who it was, the silence was louder than the laughter ever was. If you love emotional stories with powerful life lessons, hit subscribe and stay with me till the end. This one will stay with you. Mavis grew up in a small, struggling town where hope felt like a rumor. The streets were cracked, the buildings were tired, and people had learned to expect less from life. Mavis was different. He believed things could change. He used to sit outside the old grocery store, sketching ideas in a notebook. Business plans, inventions, ways to fix things nobody else cared about. But people didn't see vision. They saw a poor boy dreaming too loud. Every time he applied for a job, the answer was the same: no experience, not qualified, try again next time. But next time never came, until the day everything broke. That morning, Mavis walked into a local office for what he hoped would be his last interview. He wore his only shirt, clean but worn thin. He sat across from a man who barely looked at him. Halfway through the interview, the man sighed. "Let me be honest," he said. "You don't belong in places like this." Mavis felt his chest tighten. "Sir, I just need a chance." The man laughed. Not a kind laugh, the kind that closes doors. That's when the others joined in. A few workers nearby turned to look, smirking, whispering. And then came the sentence that would echo in Mavis's mind for years. "People like you don't make it out of this town." Mavis walked out slowly, not angry, not crying, just empty. That night he packed a small bag, and without telling anyone, he left. The world outside wasn't kind. Mavis slept in shelters, worked odd jobs, got rejected more times than he could count. But something inside him refused to die. That voice that said, "You are more than this." Years passed. Mavis learned. He studied. He failed and tried again, until one day, something clicked. A small idea turned into a small business. That business turned into an opportunity. That opportunity turned into millions. Mavis didn't just succeed. He built something real, something powerful. But success didn't erase the past. It sharpened it. Because no matter how far he went, he never forgot that street, that laughter, that sentence. One evening, Mavis sat in his office, staring at a report. It was about his hometown. Things had gotten worse. Schools were shutting down. Families were struggling. People were leaving. The same town that once rejected him was now falling apart. He leaned back in his chair, and for a moment, just a moment, he thought about revenge. What if I do nothing? What if they feel what I felt? The thought sat heavy in the room. But then, another voice spoke. Not loud, but stronger. "You didn't come this far to become what hurt you." Mavis closed his eyes and made a decision that would change everything. It started quietly. A school received funding, anonymously. Then another. Then the hospital got new equipment. Broken homes were repaired. Small businesses suddenly had support. No one knew where it was coming from. Rumors spread. Maybe it's the government. No, some rich donor. An organization? But there were no announcements, no interviews, no name. Just change. Slow, steady, undeniable change. And for the first time in years, hope returned to the town. Months later, the town organized a small event to celebrate the progress. They invited community members, leaders, anyone who had helped. That's when a black car pulled up. People turned. A man stepped out, well-dressed, calm, confident. At first, no one recognized him. But then, someone gasped, "Wait, is that Mavis?" The crowd went quiet. Faces changed. Memories rushed back. The boy they laughed at, the one they dismissed, was standing right there. The truth spread quickly. He was the one. He had been behind everything. The schools, the homes, the money, all of it. The same people who once rejected him had been living off his kindness. One of the men who laughed at him years ago stepped forward, his voice shaky. "Mavis, why?" Mavis looked at him, not with anger, not with pride, just calm. "I remembered what it felt like to be ignored," he said. Silence. "I had a choice," he continued. "I could let this town suffer, or I could help it heal." He paused. "And I chose healing." No one spoke, because deep down, they knew they didn't deserve it. Mavis didn't stay long. He didn't give a speech, didn't ask for recognition. He just left the town better than he found it. And as people stood there, processing everything, one truth became clear. He didn't just give money, he gave grace. Because the easiest thing would have been revenge, but the strongest thing was choosing to rise above the pain. Sometimes life gives you the chance to hurt the people who hurt you. And in that moment, you discover who you really are. Because healing doesn't just change others, it frees you too. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful life lessons. And tell me in the comments, would you choose revenge or healing? Your answer might say more about you than you think.